we talk about new Pope, new American Pope? I didn't expect for there to be an American Pope. Like, I feel like this was anyone talking? I mean, I wasn't really following with like papal politics all that closely, but I do like Conclave. I've watched Conclave every time there's been a conclave in my lifetime. I think it's a really interesting ritual. I think that I kind of like the mystery of it all. I like that just like the only indicator is this little smoke that comes out of the chimney. I love that all the people are just waiting in bated breath for this moment where the smoke appears. And I thought it went pretty quickly. I mean, it seemed like it was a really quick decision. There was only like one other vote before this, wasn't there? Like, were there any other votes? I was surprised it was that quick. And I thought because it was that quick, I was like, it's going to be the Filipino. Because what I kept hearing about the papal like politics of it was that like the Filipino that was like the far leftist was like out, like he was like a favorite. And I was like, oh man, if it's a quick election, it's gonna be that Filipino leftist. Oh man. And it wasn't. And I feel like it was a dark horse candidate with the American Pope, who's from Chicago, apparently. And, like, listen, now there's like kind of like your astrologer predicted the name Leo. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? I feel like there's like a mad dash now by people on the internet to try to figure out who this guy is because he just wasn't one of the candidates like a lot of people were talking about. And so now there's this massive uproar online. He's woke because of this article he wrote about J.D. Vance. He's woke because of this. He's a Marxist. He's this. He's that. He's the other thing. Listen, here's what I think. And I'm gonna do the thing where I go, I'm not a Catholic, but what I'm not gonna do is say, I'm not a Catholic, but this is bad for reason X, Y, B, and Z. I kind of think that, like, listen, I'm gonna give my thoughts on this, but I'm not gonna shit on the new Pope. I'm really not in any way. And I think you'll understand why as we kind of get into this. But like it is kind of annoying me that all of these non-Catholics are like, your Pope sucks for reasons X, Y, B, and Z, and blah, 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 blah. First of all, for like American Catholics, I have to think this is actually pretty effing cool. So why are you all of a sudden trying to rain on their parade? This is like the supreme head of their church. And I have to say, this is how you know the Groypers are actually real Catholics. Because the Groypers, of all people, if anyone's going to attack anyone on the internet over nonsense, it's going to be the Groypers, right? But like the Groypers that I've seen are actually like, yeah, they're psyched about this Pope. They're psyched that it's American Pope. They're psyched he's from Chicago. They think he's great. They're already pledging their allegiance to him. And that is exactly what I would expect the Groypers to do, honestly, regardless of who got elected Pope, because they're actually Catholic. And that's just the way it goes. But like all these like non-Catholics that are like complaining and crying and going through every tweet this guy's ever sent and going through, I mean, listen, I know he just became one of the most famous men in the world, like in an instant where no one, and that's got to be a weird feeling, by the way. Can you imagine just being like a cardinal that like no one really knows who you are and probably very few people are paying attention to you, and all of a sudden you're elected Pope? And all of a sudden, you're trotted out on the balcony to become the supreme leader of the Catholic Church. And all of a sudden, in just like an instant, you become one of the most famous people in the world. That's got to be a crazy feeling. Can we just like talk about that for a second? Man. But all these people are complaining. Now, the very first thing I did when I found out who got elected is I kind of tried to figure out what are his actual politics. And I didn't go into his Twitter feed. I just went and did some like AI searches and I said, can you explain to me what this guy's politics are and give both sides and all this stuff. And what I personally found, and I don't know if this differs from anyone else, what I found is that on some issues, this guy is on the left. On some issues, this guy is on the right. Do you know what that makes him? That makes him a moderate. I also found out that one of the reasons that people really like this guy is because he listens very like deeply to people. So like people know that they can give him feedback and he's actually going to listen to them, which means to me, he's taking probably advice from a variety of people around him. and talking to people, and he obviously knows how to play politics. I'm sorry, you don't get elected pope that quickly if you don't know how to play politics. So obviously this is a guy that is well liked, obvious, and across the spectrum, because again, he got elected very, 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 very quickly, right? And so I have to, like, from what I saw, apart from all the outrage, what I saw was this guy's a moderate. And I think that he, my understanding is that he has mostly been in Peru. Like, he grew up in the United States. He went to Villanova. He got a math degree from Villanova, by the way. Has anyone seen his old college picture? It's so 70s. It's so fantastic. He had such a 70s yearbook photo. And so I don't know exactly when he became a priest, but then he went to Peru, and I think he spent most of his time in Peru. And I'm sure that that's probably informed a lot of the perspectives that he has. Now, when I looked at his statements around immigration and around George Floyd and stuff like that, I actually didn't see a leftist. I certainly have seen no evidence that he's a Marxist, by the way. That, for all the people like that I've seen on Twitter going, he's a woke Marxist, I've literally seen no evidence that he's a Marxist. And you guys know that evidence is something I would like, actual real world hinged into reality evidence. What I have seen is him talking about loving people unconditionally. What I have seen is him talking about praying for people like George Floyd and like immigrants, that maybe conservatives don't want those people prayed for whatever reason. What I have seen is him talking about taking care of people. I think it's very easy to misconstrue talking about taking care of immigrants and talking about, justice and fairness and all that stuff with open borders globalists in our environment today, where everyone is so teed off and pissed off about everything. But I really didn't get the sense that he was like an open borders globalist Marxist or any of the nonsense that conservatives are saying. Like, I got the sense that, like, he's lived in South America for a long time. He's seen poverty. Listen, if he lives in Peru, if he ministers in Peru, he has seen poverty. And I think that that's probably informed a lot of his thinking on that. On the other hand, I have seen him talk about how he doesn't want women to be deacons in the church, and I think that's probably a good thing. Listen, if I were ever to become a Christian, and I don't want anyone to get their hopes up, that's not going to happen. But if I ever was going to become a Christian, I would become a Catholic. And the reason I would pick Catholicism is I like the ritual of Catholicism. I like the architecture of it. I like that they basically held a lot of their traditions where a lot of the other religions have kind of bent to more modern times. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing when it comes to religion and ritual, because ritual, the pageantry, yes, thank you. I love the pageantry of the Catholic Church. And I think it's one of those things, the ritual and the pageantry, I think it gets people into a certain mindset where I trust the commitment of Catholics much more than I trust the commitments of other types of denominations. I think that generally speaking, like, and I say this, I grew up in a Catholic family, and also I did grow up in a Catholic family. Like everyone in my family was a Catholic. Everyone except for me and my brother we were the black sheep of the family because we weren't baptized Catholic. But I did grow up in a Catholic family. I grew up around that, and so it is something I'm also familiar with. I've been to Catholic church many times. I used to joke that I would get smited going into the church, but I have actually been to Catholic church many times. And so the reason I say this is that, yeah, I mean, it's like ritual is important because ritual gets people into a certain headspace. It gets people into a certain mindset. And I think it makes them more open and receptive to, quite frankly, connecting with God. And so I don't even know where I was going with that exactly, but I think that, the whole tradition thing. Okay. So I know he's against like women being deacons, which I think is a good thing. I know that he's kind of like spoken out against like, you know, homosexuality. And you guys know I love the gays on this channel. I have no problem with anyone being gay. I don't care if you're gay. It doesn't matter. The gay men love me and lesbians always want me. I have a lesbian vibe. I know that. I've accepted it. So I have no problem with anyone being gay, but it's also kind of like, I do kind of like that. Like, if he wants to uphold that more traditional structure, I'm a fan of that, because that means he's not going to get sucked into any other leftist stuff. And I have to say, this quote made me very happy. The promotion of gender ideology is confusing because it seeks to create genders that don't exist. Hey, listen, man. The Pope is the new American Pope is anti-queer, anti-gender ideology. That's like all I need to know, basically, because I actually have been very worried about the Catholic Church getting queered. I think we started to see some signs under the last Pope that he was starting to let the tentacles of queer theory into the Catholic Church. And I was like, oh, grapers, your Catholic Church is getting queered. And I kind of feel like this Pope isn't going to put up with any of that nonsense. I also think, and this is just purely like esoteric, and I understand that, I really like the look of this Pope. Like, I feel like he has a very calm energy about him. I feel like he has very kind eyes. And I know that's kind of like a weird thing. And I know it's like, you're going to judge the effectiveness of someone based on their eyes. Well, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like what I have right now. I'm going to judge them based on their eyes. I'm going to judge them based on their energy. And just like, I feel like he has a very kind of calm demeanor. I feel like he's someone that I don't know. I feel like like he's trustworthy, you know? Again, this is going to be one of the most like nerve-wracking things that's ever happened in his life. He got elected Pope. He's about to be trotted out onto the balcony and become one of the most famous people in the world. Yeah, Gloria, the eyes are the window to the soul. I feel like he has very kind eyes. I feel like he has a soft, calm presence about him. And I think that's a good thing. So I'm not Catholic, but I like him. I do. I have a good feeling about him. Now, am I going to agree with him on everything? No, probably not. And I'm sure there's probably not a single Catholic in the world that's going to agree with him on everything. But I also know this because you guys know, well, maybe some of you know, I don't know that all of you do. I've been doing these rituals lately that have been designed around learning how to surrender, learning how to give up control, learning how to just stop trying to control every element. Because I don't know if you guys know, I'm a bit of a control freak. And it is something that has been that like I don't think it serves me as like sometimes it serves me well. Sometimes you have to be a control freak. Okay, I'm not going to share the ritual. You guys have to find your own ritual for giving up control. The ritual is for me. Okay, you guys don't get to know what it is. But what I will say is that, you know, I think that all the like if there are Catholics that are freaking out about this, I think everyone just needs to calm down. Because, you know, in something like this, someone and this is honest to God how I see it. I don't think someone can become pope if it's not meant to be in a certain respect. I think there's a fair bit of like fate and destiny that is involved with things like this. Just because it's one of those things where it's like there are so many accidental moments. I bet you if you go through this guy was a mathematician. How did someone with a mathematics degree from Chicago who went to Villanova become pope? It's kind of like you have so many accidents and twists of fate that have to pile on each other and stack onto each other. And it's kind of like this is one of the things that I'm kind of like, you know what? Surrender. Give yourself over to God. This is one of those things that you cannot control, okay? And just breathe and know that like listen, if you believe that your church is the one true word of God, or whatever the Catholics believe, then this is your guy, man. This is your guy, and that's just the way it goes, and it's going to be okay. Regardless, it's going to be okay. A lot of people didn't like the last pope. Well, guess what? Things turned out okay. The last pope was pope for a while. He didn't burn down the place. Francis didn't paint queer flags all over the place. Like the wheels stayed on the wagon. Okay. So give it to God, man. Let go. It's going to be okay. So what do you guys think of the new pope? I'm just going to look in the chat. Yeah, give him a chance. He's like a grandfather. My mom said he looks like the kind old priest and brothers that she knew when she was a kid in the 50s. Yeah, it's like if I was going to go to church and I was going to talk to a priest, like he has kind of like that look and that vibe of someone that I feel like I would want to talk to. The Catholics I see are excited. It's the Protestants that are freaking out. Well, this is the thing. It's like I think that if you don't have, this is one of those instances where it's kind of like, if you don't have something nice to say, keep it to yourself. Okay, Protestants. Okay, Baptists. Okay, Unitarian Universalists, or whatever the heck those people are. If you don't have something nice to say, keep it to yourself. He's not your Pope. Let the Catholics have their moment. This is a big deal for the Catholics. You don't always have to ruin everything by making it all about you, Protestants. You can rein it in. Give them a moment to celebrate the election of their new pontiff. Like, come on. This is like going to someone's birthday party and being like, you did this and that other thing, and you forgot to go to the store last week. It's like, why are you ruining someone's birthday? You can complain about the fact that they didn't go do that errand tomorrow. You can complain tomorrow. Let them have a birthday. You don't have to ruin everything. You don't have to make it all about you. He was a cardinal for less than 2 years. Well, that makes it even more crazy then, doesn't it? My impression is that he's intelligent and also compassionate. That's the vibe I get from him too. That's what I thought, that he was good friends with Francis, but that doesn't mean he would do everything that Francis would do. We don't know. We just don't know. We just don't know. Let me see. What are other people saying in the chat? Yeah, I don't know why the Protestants care. Only like 12% of Christian Americans are Catholic. Exactly. Let the Catholics have a moment. All right. New Pope t-shirts with DUP. Maybe I will do a new Pope t-shirt. Who knows? I like him. The commentators I was listening to said he picked the name Leo because the last Pope Leo during the Reconstruction era was very pro-family. I like the name Leo. It's like, it has some attitude about it. It's kind of like what I would expect a Catholic Pope to kind of like pick out for a name, or not a Catholic Pope. Obviously the Pope is Catholic. I meant someone from Chicago. I meant like he's from Chicago. I want him to have like a name like Leo, as I just think that actually goes together, right? Michael O'Fallon is freaking out. Well, Michael O'Fallon can put a sock in it and sit down, you know? Let's see. Let's see. Just scrolling through the chat. He is Augustinian, very pro-family and hierarchy. So that's good. Very pro-family, very pro-hierarchy. We like family, we like hierarchy here. And again, I love that it's American. I love that he's American. I just think that that's cool. No one expected to get an American Pope today. Like, I'm really going to be anxious. Has Nick Fuentes said anything about this yet? Let me check his Telegram. Has he posted yet? Oh, he posted something. Has he posted about the new Pope? No, he's posted about Trump. He hasn't posted about new Pope yet. I'm probably being very disrespectful by calling him new Pope, but you know, I'll ease into the name. I doubt that he considers it bending the knee, though, is the thing. I doubt he considers it bending the knee. Nick was deferential to the last Pope, too. But I do want to know. Oh, he posted about the Pope on X. Let's see what he had to say. Let's see what he had to say. Hang on, let me bring up his Twitter feed. Nick J. Fuentes. Hang on a second. Bing. Hello, Nicholas. Let's see. Catholic Church is the center of the universe. True. The Vicar of Christ on Earth was just chosen minutes ago, and people who aren't even Catholic are screenshotting his old tweets to complain about his opinion on American immigration policy. Sort of missing the point, not even a political debate. You know what? I kind of thought the same thing, right? I was like, why are all these people complaining about his stance on American immigration? I'm sorry, like, does the Pope have a say over American immigration? Does the Pope have a vote over American immigration? I mean, I understand that the president may talk to the Pope for spiritual guidance and stuff like that. Maybe. Probably not that often. But, like, if the Pope doesn't have a vote on American immigration policy, then why do we care what the Pope thinks on American immigration policy. It seems to me that the Pope's job is to be like the shepherd for the Catholic Church, to make sure the church doesn't like fall apart or like, burn down or something like that. Like the Pope has his hands full with, the billion Catholics in the world. He's not in charge of immigration in any way. He has no say in immigration in America in any way. And so why are all the non-Catholics making it all about a couple of tweets that he sent about loving immigrants and treating immigrants well? I don't get it, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. All of these nonprofit Catholic immigration orgs pay out the vet. Well, I don't know. I don't know anything about that. But what I will say is, again, I just think that everyone needs to calm down. I think if you are really a Catholic and you're freaking out about the Pope, maybe can you give it like 24 hours? Maybe can you just like stop and breathe? The guy just got a new outfit. He has to wear all white for the rest of his life now. Can you guys are freaking out about the Pope? Can you imagine how the new Pope is freaking out? He has to move to Rome. He can only wear white for the rest of his life. He now has to get driven around in a Pope mobile. Someone might shoot him. Like, yeah, exactly. Could you imagine wearing white and only white for the rest of your life? He gets to wear a really big hat. I hope he brings back that crown with like the 3 crowns. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? I want the old school crown back. The one with the really fuck off big crown with the 3 crowns. Yeah. I think everyone should just relax, okay? The most important question we should be asking right now is not what is the Pope's position on American immigration policy. The most important question that we should be asking right now is, will the new Pope bring back the giant 3 crown hat? That's the most important thing that matters. So that's kind of my opinion on American Pope. I think it's good. I think it's a good thing. I like him. I think that he has like solid energy. I think he has kind eyes. I think he's like a grandfather type figure. He does kind of remind me, and again, I'm not Catholic, so I don't know all the ins and outs of this, but just like the vibe kind of reminds me of John Paul II, the one before Benedict, the one that was around for a while before Benedict, the one the only other pope that I ever knew, because that was the one I think I understood when I was younger. And so I am optimistic about the new Pope. I think it's going to be good. And I think everyone should calm down. And not everyone needs to complain about everything. All right? You actually don't want what the Triple Crown represents. I don't care. I don't care, social media comment section. You want to know why? Because the Triple Crown is awesome. I don't agree with a lot of the Catholic Church stuff, but I like the pageantry. And I like the outfits, and I think the more pageantry and the more grandeur, the better. And so bring back the Triple Crown. It looks awesome. Okay? I want him wearing the red shoes, all that stuff. That's the traditional Pope clothing, which Francis had ditched. Could be an early sign. Return to tradition. Yeah. Return to tradition, mother effers. New American Pope in the house. Okay, so that's my opinion on that. That was the big thing that happened today.